lost and confused. They had left the office of the Red Moon Volunteer Soldier Corps, but where would they go now? There had been talk of gathering information, but Ho Hero and company knew absolutely nothing about this town called Altona. None of them knew anyone here, so they had no connections to rely on. And Renji and Kikara, Manato, and even Kuzuoka and Moguzo didn't even seem to be around anymore either. It looked like they had already taken off elsewhere. No one knew what to do. Haruhiro, Wanta, Yume, and Chiholu stood in front of the office while in a daze. What should we do? Chiholu was forced to speak. Why are you asking me? I ought to be asking you, Haruhiro wanted to say, but then he thought, she's a girl. I can't say it like that. What should we do? He tried asking her. What should we do? Indeed, Chiholu answered 3 seconds later. You people, Wanta said with an exaggerated sigh. Can't you come up with something a little better? Show a little more, I don't know, independence? Something like that? It's really not the time to be saying, what do we do now, is it? Well, since you're saying it like that, replied Haruhiro, what do you suggest? Yume chuckled to herself. That sounds about the same to you, man. Yeah, kinda, Wanta said, rubbing the underside of his nose like a mischievous child. You could say that. Honestly, this is pretty bad. Haruhiro couldn't help but think. Kuzuoka called us the leftovers, and he may have been absolutely right. The indecisive four of us were left behind, and we weren't trying to come together to do something. We're just sort of here. Could this be the worst possible result? Moguzo's got it good, said Ranta, giving voice to a thought. Haruhiro couldn't say he didn't share. Even if that Kozuoka seemed scummy, he's got experience, you know? If you get into a party with a guy who seems to know his stuff, you can relax a little bit. It could be pretty breezy from there. And why, Moguzo anyway? He should have chosen me. I'm clearly way more useful. Seriously. No, seriously. You sure? You may ask in a soft voice. You people, Wanta said, pointing at Haruhiro and Yume. You can only say that because you haven't seen what I can do. Let me tell you, I'm real capable. From the time I was a baby sucking at my mother's tit, I've been secretly famous as a man who could do great things. If you were famous, it would hardly be a secret, rebutted Haruhiro. Don't sweat the details that much. You'll just tire yourself out, you know. Having to deal with you has already left me a little tired. You've got no stamina, Haruhiro. You're so useless. You're no good, no good at all. I don't want to hear this from a guy whose only redeeming quality is his curly hair. Don't call it curly. Hey, I said that it was a redeeming quality. Your curly hair is the only thing you've got going for you. Curly hair is all you've got. Really? You think curly hair's good? I'm not so convinced, you know. Yume's hair's all straight, you know. Yume piped in. When Yume sees another girl with her hair up in curls, she gets jealous. Yume thinks you've got it good, Ranta. Really? My curly hair's that great? For you? Yeah, when your hair's all curly like that, it makes it look like the inside of your head's all fluffy too. It's kinda cute, you know? What? Cute? Nah, you sure? As a guy, having a girl call me cute, well, it doesn't feel bad, but hey, wait! The inside of my head's all fluffy? What are you saying? I look like an idiot? They heard someone inhale sharply. When they looked, Chihiru's shoulders were trembling and she had her face in her hands. Wanta's eyes popped out. What? Yume looked at Shihoru and blinked a few times. Haruhiro was, of course, surprised as well. She's crying? What's wrong? Haruhiro went to put a supporting hand on her back but stopped himself. Touching her was probably a bad idea. She's a girl after all. Not it. It's nothing. Shihoru was obviously sobbing heavily. Nothing at all. I'm just feeling a little worried. Oh, that made sense to Haruhiro once he thought about it. In this situation, perhaps Haruhiro and the others were the who were bantering about trivia nonsense were the crazy ones. Shihoru might be the only normal one. There, Yume said, rubbing Shihoru's back to soothe her. There, it'll be fine. Even if Yume isn't sure what exactly, it'll be fine, you know? Wanta grimaced. You're not sounding reassuring there. Well, still, Haruhiro said, scratching his neck. We've got to do something or we're in trouble. Don't you think just standing here in silence is awkward? I don't know, like, there've got to be other volunteer soldiers like that Kuzuoka guy says. We could find one of them and ask questions or something. Okay, counting on you for that, Ranta said, slapping Haruhiro on the shoulder. You're one quick and ask them questions or whatever. Mm-hmm. Yep, Haruhiro, you're our man for this. It's almost refreshing how eager you are to make someone else do all the work. It's like a breath of fresh air, isn't it? It really pisses me off. I'll come out right and say it. You getting pissed off won't bother me in the least. You are the worst. Oh, shove it. You suggested it, so you get to do it. That's how these things work, pretty much. But okay, fine. Let's split up the workload. Haruhiro, you're in charge of finding a volunteer soldier and getting some answers. Shiho's in charge of being depressed. Yume's in charge of consoling her. As for me, we'll say I'm in charge of, let's say, waiting for you to get back here. Wanta man, are you really that eager to do nothing? If you're gonna insist, I can do something, but if it's not fun, I don't wanna. Don't we have bigger things to worry about than whether you have fun or not? Nah, that's the most important thing. I'm the kind of guy who wants to enjoy life. If I can't enjoy it, it ain't part of my life. What about you, Haruhiro? Are you the type that can't enjoy life? I'll bet you are. Those sleepy eyes of yours. I was born with these eyes. Haruhiro shot back at Wanta, then sighed deeply. Fine, I've had enough. I'll be right back. I'll go find this volunteer soldier. Finally ready to do it, huh? Well, next time, just do what you begin with. You're such a pain, said Ranta. Maybe I should punch him, thought Haruhiro. He decided against it, though. If I punch a guy like this, I'd get my fist and my soul dirty. He's not even worth hitting. Within, I'll be right back, so stay here, to Shihoru and Yume. He walked away from the front office, though he still honestly had no clue where to go. The sun should be to the east, so that way's north, that way's south, and that way's west. To the north was a tall building that looked like a tower or a castle. I can probably use that as a landmark, so I guess I'll look around a bit. He decided to go north based on that idea, but Haruhiro wasn't a tourist here. Is this gonna be okay? I'm sure Renji's group is doing fine. Manato's probably getting by somehow, too. As for the overly exuvious Kikara, he's probably chatting up every person he comes across. I hope Moguzo isn't being tricked by Kuzuoka. If he's not being lied to, he may as well have had the best start out of all of us. I'll have to ask someone, I guess, Haruhiro said to himself. Anyone will do. I'll start with the couple over there, but what do I ask about? Volunteer soldiers? Right. I'll have them tell me about volunteer soldiers, about where the volunteer soldiers are. Having found his resolve, he s- having found his resolve, he started people watching. Okay. Having found his resolve, he started people watching. He wasn't concerned about age or gender. He just wanted someone who seemed friendly and approachable. Most of the people who went by made eye contact with Haruhiro. They were all looking at him. Was he an unusual sight for them? He must be. The way he was dressed was blatantly out of place. None of them seemed well disposed towards me. They look at me like I don't belong here, you could say. Am I just imagining it? Maybe I'm reading too much into it. Still, maybe I'm setting my expectations too high? Or is it that I'm being too much of a chicken? Courage, come to me, please. Haruhiro prayed silently as he walked through the unfamiliar town. After all, I figure once I get going, I can stop people with, excuse me. I just hope I can get into that mindset quickly, since it looks like I didn't arrive with it. On the other side of a plaza, completely free of any litter, that tall building goes into the sky. It looked like it was stonework. The buildings all around it had either one or two floors, three at most. So that made it stand out. But really, it would have stood out anyway because it was really tall. It looked solid, with windows and gates that were decorated in fine detail. It made a very impressive sight. Positioned around the plaza in front of the gates were men who looked like gods, dressed in armor and helmets, armed with spears and shields. The place seemed to be under tight guard, so maybe someone important lived here like the mayor maybe. As he stood in the middle of the plaza staring up at the building, one of the guards came over, his metal armor and equipment clanking. What are you doing there? Have you some business at Ten Boa Tower? The guard demanded. Huh? Tenboro? No, not really. Then be gone. Do you wish to be arrested for disturbing His Excellency the Margrave? Get arrested? I'd rather not, that's for sure. Yes, sorry. Haruhiro left the plaza as quickly as he could. I don't really get it, but His Excellency the Margrave must be the name, no, the title of whoever lives in that tower. Tenbo or whatever it was called. It was the first piece of information he'd gotten, though. Considering how the place stood out, it was probably something every person in town knew. Ortona, Margrave, His Excellency, Tenbo Tower, Frontier, the Frontier Army, Volunteer Soldier Corps, Volunteer Soldiers, huh? Mumbling the words he learned to himself, he proceeded north and found a strangely lively area up ahead of him. What could this be? Shops, maybe? Both sides of the street were packed tightly with food carts and street stalls. It looked as if someone was still setting up, but more than half a second should be open for business. The store seemed to have a wide variety of foods, clothing, sundries, and even more on display out front. Energetic voices from all directions called out to the people passing by, shouting at them to try each shop. Something like a market, maybe, as if being lured how Hero walked in. The hustle and bustle was incredible. The goods had tags saying things like 1C or 3C or 12C, and though he could read them, he wasn't sure what any of it meant. Come here and buy something, mister, and come on in, mister, people were calling out to him, and he hated the cowardice which caused him to ignore or run away from them every time. Still, it didn't take long for the wonderful scents to drift his way and get him excited. Meat. He started to salivate. There was meat in one cart. They were cooking meat on skewers. The cart over there was cooking soup or something in a pot, and yet another cart had mountains of bread piled up. There was a shop selling some kind of sandwiches as well. In the shop across the way, they had something like steamed buns on display. Haruhiro clutched his belly. His stomach was crying out for attention. Why had he not noticed it before? He wasn't really hungry. But Shihoru and Yume were all waiting. I don't care about Wanta, but it feels wrong somehow to eat by myself. Still, they say you can't fight on an empty stomach. In fact, I don't think I can take another step without eating, or at least I don't want to. Sorry, girls. Unable to resist, Haruhiro dashed for the stall selling meat skewers. With hurried fingers, he clumsily withdrew a single silver coin from his little pouch. Well, if it was enough, he'd worry about it then. Can I buy one with this? What? The punchy man cooking the skewers stared at him back with wide eyes. A silver coin? You don't need that much. My skewers are 4 copper apiece. Look, it's written right here. I don't give discounts, but we never take more than the price here at Dory Skewers. 4 copper. Oh, he looked at the silver coin. Wait, does that mean I can't buy one using this? Listen, a silver coin is 1 silver. Yeah? 1 silver is 100 copper. So that'd be 25 skewers. You can't eat that much. I'm sure, and since it's before noon, I only have about 50 copper on hand. I can't make change. Ah, so the copper you're talking about. I mean the copper coins, obviously, the paunchy man said, showing him a copper coin that looked like his trainee badge, but 1/2 to 1/4 the size. One of these, you can't possibly not know about this, can you? Although you are dressed kinda funny. Ah, could it be you're a volunteer soldier? Huh? Yeah, I'm a volunteer soldier. No, a trainee, actually. Oh, I see. So that's it. All you volunteer soldiers are the type a little weird after all. So what? You don't have any copper coins, even though you've got a silver one? Yeah, I don't. One copper is 100 copper, which meant that 10 silver coins our hero had were worth 1,000 copper. Even for 250 meat skewers, the skewers were big enough that they could probably serve a full meal, which meant he could afford 250 meals. At 3 meals a day, he had enough for more than 80 days, so he could keep himself fed for quite a while. I'm glad I became one, a volunteer soldier trainee. If you don't know about copper coins, the paunchy man said, twisting his mouth and exhaling through his nose. Of course you won't know about the Yozelu Deposit Company either. Why not try going there? They'll convert your money there, and though they do charge a service fee, they'll hold your money for you. Yozo Yodozu Deposit Company. To find it, go south from the market here, past Tinboa Tower. Then take the first, second, and third left. You'll be right there. There's a sign for it out front. I'm sure you'll find it well enough.